happy to have you for the second time on EnergyNewsAfrican.com platform. And let's begin our conversation. Like I said, recently, Vice President announced that government was going to come out with a policy that will make sure that we exchange our gold for oil as part of effort to make sure that the pressure on the cedi is minimized. What is your whole understanding about this gold for oil policy?
Thank you very much. The minority is really interested in supporting government in any decent, well-meaning move that will ensure that there is enough quantities of fuel at a reasonable price to stimulate economic activity. What we would not be part is a deliberate attempt led by the Vice President once again to mislead the people of Ghana. Don't forget, this is the same Vice President who came to tell us that he was doing a barter between bauxite and some development projects with the Chinese. I'm talking of the Sino Hydro project. Yeah. We cautioned them. The Vice President then said, we're not reading. Today we've been vindicated. The IMF has insisted that that facility is nothing but a loan agreement and ought to be captured as part of our national debt. That's part of the reason why today the economy is in tatters. That's why we are in this quagmire where inflation is above 50% and in hyperinflation, and our currency is the second worst currency. It's because of some of these disingenuous narratives led by the Vice President. So today as we speak, fortunately, we've had 40,000 metric tons of diesel. From this
diesel or
it's diesel.
Okay.
I have the certificate here with you.
Okay.
I got a certificate
because
through
we were not told
through my sources, and I can share the certificate with you. So clearly, at least there's some evidence for us to compare with. Okay. And so that narrative of misleadingness cannot stand again. If you look at the records, the first question you ask is that, which gold did they use in terms of this barter? And as I told you, I have the certificate here. As you can see, yeah. Every information that comes out, we would get a copy, and if it becomes necessary, I'll share with you. The certificate of quantity, these are the quantities. It's about 40,000 metric tons. And as you can see, it's gasoline, so that's clearly diesel. PMMC is supposed to be buying the gold. 80% of that gold must come from the small-scale industry with the licensed gold exporters. As we speak, PMMC hasn't bought an ounce of gold from the small-scale miners. Not even 1 ounce.
Since last December?
Since they announced it. Meanwhile, they've banned the export of gold. You can check with PMMC. And so the question is, what quantities of gold did they buy? At what price? Who did they exchange that quantity of gold with for this oil? They should tell us the truth.
I read a story online that they bought, I think, 26,000 ounces of gold. Bank of Ghana bought 26,000 ounces of gold.
Bank of Ghana buy gold for our reserves. Bank of Ghana
not for the gold
not
for oil
buy gold for oil purchases. PMMC, and I have the letter from PMMC here. I have all the necessary documents. Okay. I'll show that to you as well. Okay. I have the letter from PMMC instructing all the licensed gold exporters not to export the gold, and rather that PMMC would be the agency to buy the gold. PMMC has only 2 offices, Accra and Kumasi. Meanwhile, they claim they'll be buying the gold in all the 16 regional offices. This is PMMC.
That is what they said in the
directive to secure adequate quantities of gold to support gold for oil program.
And we are saying as we speak, they have not even bought a single.
They have not, because they don't even have the money. So this oil that has been supplied, and I'm well informed from what I've seen, that is from Letasco. Letasco does not engage in gold purchase. Letasco does not buy gold. So what quantities of gold did PMMC buy? At what price? What quantity of gold did PMMC give to the oil supplier? And at what price? Because if you look at the Bank of Ghana rate today, is about 10.5 CD to the dollar. Meanwhile, PMMC has promised the gold industry that they will buy the gold at forex rates. Today, the forex rate is about 13. So what is PMMC telling us? They will go and get 10 CDs, 50 pesos to the dollar, and come and buy at 13 CD to the dollar. See the differential.
That will amount to loss.
A huge loss. I've looked at PMMC's balance sheet. They don't have anything. So are they going to take a loan facility to buy the gold? If they take a loan facility, what is the interest rate? Today we all know where interest rates are. Or government is giving them equity. And if government is giving money, why did government no provision for that in the budget? Or Bank of Ghana now wants to engage in advancing money. Clearly, this is an opaque, clandestine move that would eventually lead to a huge national debt.
Was the committee not consulted as far as this policy is concerned? I mean, the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament?
Not at all. Even the gold players are complaining. The Chamber of Mines, they are complaining. The small-scale industry, they are complaining. The licensed gold exporters are complaining that they weren't even given enough time. Government says that they are doing so because of foreign exchange. Is that not it?
Yes.
I've interacted with the gold exporters.
And what did they tell you?
They tell me that under the current arrangement, when they export gold, they are required to repatriate or bring back 80% of that money
back
in hard-earned forex back into the country within 1 month. So this idea that you are not getting forex from the sale of gold is nothing but a false narrative. Because when you prevent them from exporting, what it means is that 80% is forgone. So it is not true that government is not getting the forex. It's just that the forex is not enough and they are not prioritizing. They told us that they will get cheaper oil. This 40,000 metric tons that came, they bought it at a premium. Check the Platts price and check the cost at which they bought this fuel.
So it was not cheap oil?
It's not cheap oil. If it's cheap oil, let that translate into the market. Prices of fuel are going up rather. The CD is even depreciating further.
No, the oil for gold, that's 40,000 metric tons, arrived at in about 4 days today. At that time, oil marketing companies have already adjusted.
I'm telling you, the next pricing window
is going to go up.
Fuel is going to go up. If it doesn't go up, call me and ask me.
It will go up possibly because of the fact that crude oil prices on the international market is going up. Just this morning, it's around $88. I don't know whether this afternoon it has gone down. And like we are saying, forex, $1 to a cedi is 13 Ghana. So if it goes up, I mean,
so where is the issue that you are getting cheap oil? If indeed where market prices are going up, and so our crude vis-a-vis the oil that we supply here in terms of finished product goes up, where is that cheap oil? Because cheap oil means that the price is higher. You are getting it cheaper than usual. That is not happening.
So you think that the intention for this oil for gold policy is different as we have been probably told? Is that what
they are misinforming us? They are not telling Ghanaians the truth. They've only gone to get some businessman in Dubai and want to do their deals with that businessman. It has nothing to do with cheaper oil. It has nothing to do with forex. I'm telling you that as it stands, if nothing is done, what it means is that the gold that is produced here, people will begin to smuggle them. Because PMMC doesn't even have that capacity. Gov't has shown that it is not efficient. How did Gov't even select the BDCs? Today, as we stand, Ghana government owes Gov't to the tune of about 300 million cedis. Government has shown that it is inefficient. Government has shown that when it comes to trading, it is not the best person to do that. When it comes to buying of things, we've just seen the COVID-19 report, and look at how they mismanage the funds with buffer stock. And now you are bringing in Gov't to do what?
You don't think Gov't could be able to handle this?
Bust the last time they took money from the Bank of Ghana. They could not pay. You can check from the Bank of Ghana.
That was when?
A couple of years ago, they couldn't pay. In fact, it's just recently that based on the softer terms, they are in the process of paying for that. So clearly, the Vice President is misleading us, and we would wish that the government would halt this rush, engage further, consult, provide further information so that we can all peruse whatever they want to do and make suggestions. When we spoke about the Sino-Hydro deal, they criticized us. Look at what happened. Recently, the Vice President came again and said he has identified another better deal for the Puolugu Dam. It turned out to be a charade. A Japan deal, it turned out to be a charade. PDS, it turned out to be a charade. Ameri, it turned out to be a charade. So there are countless examples that the minority has cautioned government. Government did not listen, but ended up burning its fingers. If we do not restructure this arrangement and make it open and transparent, we're going to have a huge debt which succeeding governments would have to come and deal with. Because clearly, you ask yourself, why this rush? Where is the transparency? Where did they buy the gold to procure these 40,000 metric tons? And let me caution the Bank of Ghana. If they begin to use our gold reserves to trade in this unnecessary so-called gold for oil deal, they'll be breaching their own practices, conventions, and laws. And a future NDC government will deal with that situation.
Honorable, having identified these lapses, what is your committee going to do? Is it a matter of just talking and leaving it for them to do or continue or do whatever they want?
Very good. You know Parliament is on recess.
Yeah.
If Parliament were to be in session
next week,
yes, around first week in February. And so when Parliament resumes, we'll activate all the parliamentary processes. Fortunately, we have 40,000 metric tons. And so Parliament can ask a document. Where did you buy that oil from? Which country is the oil coming from? Is it coming from Saudi Arabia? Is it coming from US? Is it coming from Russia? Is it coming from Venezuela? What is the actual price of the oil? What are the terms and conditions? What quantities of gold did you buy? Who did you buy that gold from? And at what price? How did you pay for that gold? And who is the supplier of the oil? What quantities of gold did you give to that oil company for this your so-called butter? And I tell you it's going to be very, very interesting. Because the documents I have seen clearly tells me that somebody is up to mischief. Somebody is just trying to do his business deal and hiding behind a so-called oil, or is it gold for oil deal, or whatever you call it, and misinforming the people of Ghana.
If you say
we would not allow that.
Who is that somebody? I want to know.
The Vice President is the one championing this. The Vice President is the one leading, once again, us into this ditch. And I think that if I were the Vice President, based on the previous experiences, I would tread with caution. He is in an indecent haste, and this will surely burn fingers.